All right, some breaking Eagles news to get to here on a Friday. This is Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. Chase Sr. here with you, bringing you this video from home because this Avonte Maddox injury that we're about to talk about is pretty important in the lead up to this game against the Jaguars on Sunday as Doug Peterson returns to Philadelphia as the head coach of Jacksonville, one of the surprise teams in the NFL, sitting at 2-1 with back-to-back wins against the Colts and against the Los Angeles Chargers. Before we get started, a programming note, going to be doing another watch party on Sunday for this game. Going to be going live at 12:45 p.m. Eastern to do our pregame show. We'll be live throughout the game, audience interaction, play-by-play, taking your super chats, your questions, have some good super chat games cooked up. Then we'll stay live for a post-game show. 24,000 views on our last watch party. Going to try to overtake that number. Make sure you lock us in and just subscribe to the channel because no matter where I'm at, whether we're at the Chat Sports Studios, if I'm at home, somewhere else, when big Eagles news happens, I'm going to bring you a video, and videos coming your way every single day on the channel. News, rumors, analysis, really interactive and informative content, so hit that red sub button down below. So this news just moments ago coming down from Tom Pelissero and Mike Garafolo of NFL Network. Pelissero tweeted that Avonte Maddox is going to miss Sunday's game at Lincoln Financial Field. As to what happened, Avonte Maddox turned his ankle yesterday in practice. The good news from Garafolo is that it's not expected to be a long-term injury. That's great because Avonte Maddox has been balling. Obviously, recently he signed that contract extension, and as a slot corner alongside Darius Slay and James Bradbury, they have formulated one of the top cornerback trios in the NFL. But the bad news is that he's not going to play on Sunday, and this Jaguars roster is pretty well equipped, especially at that slot wide receiver spot. Quarterback Trevor Lawrence in his sophomore campaign, he's really been impressive. The Jags offensive line against the Chargers last week didn't give up a sack. They protected him really well, but here's where this certainly comes into play, is that Christian Kirk, the free agency acquisition for Jacksonville, operates primarily out of the slot, formerly with the Arizona Cardinals, where he was playing with Kyler Murray. If you remember, he kind of reset the wide receiver market during NFL free agency by signing that 4-year, $72 million deal, and a lot of people, including yours truly at the time, said, that's an overpay for Christian Kirk, but he's lived up to it through 3 games with Jacksonville. I think Doug Peterson has really utilized him well in that scheme. He can play outside, but primarily he operates out of the slot, which is where Avonte Maddox certainly holds it down from. And Kirk has been really good throughout the first 3 games. 6 catches for $117 in a loss against the Commanders in Week 1. 6 grabs for 78 and 2 touchdowns against the Colts in Week 2 as they blanked Indy. And then he ran it back once again. 6 catches for 72 yards last week against the Los Angeles Chargers. 3 combined touchdowns this year. And they have a pretty good semblance of weapons on the offensive side of the ball at receiver, led by Christian Kirk. But James Robinson, the running back, has also been playing really well. That's why I continue to say, if the Eagles come into this game at Lincoln Financial Field and they sleepwalk and they think it's going to be a cakewalk, they're going to get smacked. They're going to get hit with an uppercut. And they could go down in this game if they don't take Jacksonville seriously. Now, as for who could replace Avonte Maddox, I think you're looking at maybe Josiah Scott, maybe Zech McPherson, maybe Josh Jobe, but I think that's pretty unlikely. Honestly, what the Eagles might do sneakily here is move C.J. Gardner-Johnson down from safety to slot corner, where he's actually much more experienced because he's kind of that safety corner hybrid, but when he was playing with the Saints, he played a lot of slot corner, and then that would then allow Kayvon Wallace maybe to get some of those safety reps, or maybe Jonathan Gannon runs a little bit of a hybrid defensive scheme where they're not always going to deep safeties to kind of get away from maybe mixing and matching a little bit. Pro Football Focus grades for Avonte Maddox through 3 games. He's been really good. Obviously, highlighted by that interception against the Vikings in week 2 where he had to kind of climb the ladder, go up and get it. 78.5 overall grade. League average is 70, so he's been well above league average. 78.7 in coverage. Has 3 stops this year, as well as that lone interception. So without Avonte Maddox, going to be interesting to see what Jonathan Gannon does and how Jacksonville might try to target whoever is covering Christian Kirk in the slot, and obviously going to be really paramount for the Eagles to continue to get that pass rush. I'm not asking for 9 sacks like they had against Carson Wentz, but good pressure on Trevor Lawrence, feeding off that home crowd and the energy where it's going to be lit at Lincoln Financial Field, going to be certainly important. So with Maddox missing this game, want to hear from you in the comment section. You still going with the Eagles? If so, type PHI. Are you going with the Jags? Type JAC. Get those game predictions in once again. More Eagles injury news to get to. Now we pivot to the offensive side of the ball with Boston Scott. So he has officially been ruled out with the rib injury. There were some rumblings early on Friday that he might not play, and maybe Trey Sermon would actually be active because he hasn't been active up to this point. Official now that Boston Scott has been ruled out with a rib injury. That impacts special teams because he can go back there and return kicks, and it obviously takes away another complimentary back in the backfield for Philly. So if Trey Sermon is active, I'm excited to see what he can do. He didn't do much in a year and change with the San Francisco 49ers, was a 3rd-round pick coming out of Ohio State. Before that was with Oklahoma. He's big, but with San Francisco, he didn't play up to his size and didn't really bring that physicality to the table. Could he do that in this offense? Kyle Shanahan with the Niners runs more of an outside zone scheme, whereas this running game kind of gets up and down a little bit quicker, which I think benefits and suits Trey Sermon in more of a positive light. So that's all of the Eagles news to get to. I'm excited to see what Trey Sermon can do. That might mean more handoffs and more carries for Miles Sanders. I'm okay with that. He's been really good this year, averaging about 4.9 yards per carry, and then Kenneth Gainwell as that RB2. Trey Sermon, if needed, could be that RB3, and maybe he can bring that physical force to that running back spot, which he certainly kind of lacked with the San Francisco 49ers. So a lot of Eagles injury news to get to here on Friday afternoon. Hope you're all gearing up to have a really good weekend. Going to be doing that watch party on Sunday. Cannot wait for it. Yesterday's live show, as we continue to go live every single Thursday at 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific, was another success to everybody who continues to tune in and support everything that we do. Greatly appreciate it. Keep in mind, this Jags team also number 1 against the rush in the NFL. So the Eagles could look to air it out a little bit, but look, that's fine because this air attack has been one of the more pleasant surprises in the NFL. So too is Jalen Hurts, who's been absolutely phenomenal through 3 games this year. That's why he has emerged as an MVP candidate. So gonna sign off here. If more Eagles breaking news happens, I'm gonna bring you some more content. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because we always have you covered year round on the birds. Fly Eagles fly, EAGLES. And we'll catch you next time here on Philadelphia Eagles Now.